Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this, okay? Because I think that there are topics that are worth discussing here. Maybe not necessarily 100% relevant to my temp ban or whatever. Before I get into this too much, so just to give some background of what happened, I spawned in on a map and there were no walls that were loaded in for me. I didn't activate this glitch in any way intentionally. I had no idea what happened. I just happened to load a game and I had no walls, so I decided to. One, I was curious to the extent of which it could be abused, so I tried to pick up weapons. I couldn't do that while I was glitching through floors. I tried to shoot people through walls. I couldn't do that if a wall was loaded, if a wall existed server side, because I'm guessing that server side checks are done for bullets. Client side checks are done for vehicles, apparently, because I was able to get into a vehicle and drive through walls, right? Now, obviously, I'm not going to sit here and say I did all of this for research purposes and then I carefully documented it and sent the video to PLAYERUNKNOWN'S Battleground, because I didn't. It was mostly just because it was fun, and partially due to curiosity. But yeah, so that's what happened. I received I'm guessing it was a 24-hour ban or whatever afterwards for doing so. To be clear, if you discover a glitch or an exploit in the game, according to the terms of service, it is a bannable offense. So it is within their right to ban a player for doing this, obviously. That's not really up for discussion because it's their terms of service. They can do what they want. It's more so a discussion of whether or not that should be involved in the terms of service and what it means to abuse a glitch and what it means to be a pre-alpha game and all of that. I'm only bringing this up because I think that these are interesting discussions. Be aware that, obviously, as a player that was banned for 24 hours, I have somewhat of a stake in the game. I also make money streaming the game, so you should be cognizant that there are biases that I could potentially have, whether or not I am cognizant of them or not, so that should always be something you take into account as well. So one thing that's kind of strange to me, or strange to everybody really, is we live in an era of the pre-alpha, right? Where it seems like everybody wants to make a pre-alpha game or an alpha. What does actually, for chat or Mr. Moon, is this game technically, what is this? Is this alpha, beta, pre-alpha? What do they call this game? Do you know?
I think that this is just an alpha.
They just call it an alpha?
But we were in a alpha of an alpha, right? Because the FTP mode,
or early access, whatever. So, okay, they call it early access. Okay, so there are a couple reasons why people. Oh fuck! I should have wrote like a notepad so that I had talking points. But first of all, let's talk about why people do this. So there are. I think there are probably two big reasons why people do the pre-alpha thing, right? So the first thing is, let's start with the optimistic reason. The first thing is because you can gather more feedback from a wider number of players. Somebody in here? No. The first thing is that you can gather wider feedback from a wider variety of players, right? If you host a pre-alpha, that means that you can, get potentially thousands or tens of thousands, or in this case, hundreds of thousands or millions of players that are all giving you feedback on your game. From a play testing point of view, this is awesome because, one, you don't pay these people, which is great, and two, you get a plethora of feedback from people who game in a variety of different ways, using different types of systems, on different types of internet connections. This is really, really, really good from a dev point of view. You get a lot of different types of feedback that you can use then to, further modify your game in order to make it optimal when release comes. Secondly, and I believe this is more realistically the reason why people do it, and I'm not talking shit on any particular company, but people do it because you can collect a lot of revenue up front during the development process. This is a very, very, very lucrative business model for a variety of reasons. For the developers, for any investors, for the people working or owning the project. This is good because I can make a lot of fucking money on a game that's not technically complete, right? If I collect more money right up front, then I know I'm going to get some sort of return on my investment that I might not otherwise get if the game releases and flops or anything like that, right? So this is a very, very big reason for why people do pre-releases as well. Anybody that tells you differently is lying to you, okay? Whether they're a developer, investor, whatever, okay? So understanding these things to be true, I don't necessarily think it's morally or ethically wrong or dubious or whatever to release pre-releases or pre-alphas. Personally, I don't have a problem with it. When I pay money for a game, this is how I think everybody should approach it, right? We need to start running east, okay? When you pay money for a game, you're investing some amount of money to get some amount of enjoyment out of a game. DayZ was a game that was in pre-alpha or whatever for a long fucking time. I'm very disappointed with how far DayZ came along, but even as disappointed as I was in the game, I got hundreds of hours of entertainment out of it in exchange for $10, $20, $30, however much they charge at the time. So, I mean, that's easily worth it for me. If I pay $20 or $30 for your game, even if it never gets to release, but I have 200 or 300 hours of fun in it, that's an easy trade-off for me. It's just an easy fucking trade-off. So I'm okay with that. So insofar as how this game goes, I mean, I've already got my money's worth out of this game. I mean, I've got my money's worth for 2 copies. I didn't mind buying a second copy last night when I was banned because I didn't know how long I was banned for. Because I think I've got like 300 or 400 or 500 hours. 460. I've got a lot of hours in this game, so it's okay. Or well, I've got a lot of hours in this game, so it's good for the for the cost for me anyway. So getting into this kind of like pre-alpha shit. I'm popping one more bandage and then a booster. the weird kind of world that we live in is where developers are trying to balance this pre-alpha, alpha release state in combination with I want to be a real game. And you run into some very strange things here when this happens. So, for instance, PlayerUnknown recently decided to start releasing cosmetics for the game, purchasable items in-game that you can spend money to buy. And then they're also hosting professional tournaments. This is very strange because now you're trying to walk the line of, hey, look, I have an official game that's released, and now I'm going to start charging people for cosmetics. Hold on, there's a guy driving? Fuck, I suck. I only have irons. Fuck me. Whatever, I'll plan. You're trying to walk this fine line between, hey, here's a real game that I can charge real money for in-game cosmetics on, versus, and I'm having real tournaments, versus, hey, this is just a pre-release alpha. You know, I can't really do anything officially, you know? So that's a very strange line to walk for a variety of reasons. One, when you play this game, when you start the game, you accept right off the bat, and I saw this message yesterday when I bought it on a new account, that you're playing a pre-release. Anything can change at any point in time. Anything could be wiped, period, right? If you pay money to be a beta tester for them, which is essentially what you're doing, which is okay, right? If you pay money to be a beta tester for them, you acknowledge that once you forfeit that $30 for the game, it could be gone at any point in time. That's just part of the agreement that you make implicitly or explicitly, I guess, because of the message they put. That when you go to test their game, you know. Now, when you start adding cosmetics that are able to be purchased in the game, you're in a very weird area now, because if they want to, as part of their testing, if they want to remove all of those cosmetics, well, now you've kind of fucked yourself, because now you're charging players, you know, real life money for in-game items that you can't really fuck with as much anymore, even though you're technically in a pre-release state. That's a very very, very, very strange world to go in, right? And now you have to wonder, like, and again, I'm not making this accusation at PlayerUnknown or whatever, because I think that PUBG is a pretty well put together game. Now you're in this world where, like, you want to have the best of both worlds. You want to say, like, hey, I have a game that's pre-release, so if I have any severe bugs or flaws, you can't point them out because it's an alpha, it's pre-release. And it's like, okay, well, that's fine. Also, I want to sell cosmetic items and make more money off of the game, even though I've already collected a large upfront fee from the beta testers that pay to play our game. Well, okay, now it kind of seems like you're dipping into both worlds. So we can't have any ultra-harsh criticisms or be incredibly harsh about the way we evaluate the game because it's not released yet, which is fair, but you're treating it like a release game and that you're launching a professional tournament for it or multiple tournaments, and you also are charging in-game currency for cosmetic items that now you can't really fuck with as much, even though you're a pre-release game. That's a very strange world to walk in. Because, yeah, I feel like you're trying to dip into two different worlds here, and you can't really do it legitimately without that kind of, like, friction, that kind of dissonance there is going to cause a lot of disappointment, or will cause people to get upset in the community, right? Which you've already seen to some extent in regards to the cosmetics. Where am I getting to? I'm going to the, so I'm going to kind of the glitch and ban thing. I know that we've got the shit coming up on us. I'm just letting this last house and I'm running. So I think it's kind of silly. So this is more now personally in regards to the things. I'm just kind of setting the stage. This is kind of personal in regards to things that get me banned. Now keep in mind, of course, again, that I have a personal investment here, so I could be biased towards this, but this is just kind of how I view it. I don't think that in any kind of like pre-alpha or beta, I don't really think you can ever ban a player, even for intentionally activating or abusing an exploit or a glitch. One, the ladders don't really matter at all right now, right? None of these ladders are like professional or ladders or anything, you know? It's not like people's livelihoods are at stake, or like people that get into these ladders are qualifying for tournaments, or at least I don't think so. And the point of being a beta tester or an alpha tester or a pre-release tester or whatever, the point of being one of these people is to find glitches, and then you exploit them until they get fixed, right? That's kind of the point. When you're trying to act like you have, when you're trying to act like you want your multi-matchmaking experience to have like some sort of competitive integrity, but then you're also trying to shield yourself from harsh criticism by saying that you are a pre-release game, you're trying to dip into both worlds there, and I feel like that's a very strange way to operate. Mr. Mooten. Mr. Mooten, really?
If
If you're playing a pre-release game, again, and I know this because I saw the message yesterday when I bought the game again. If you're playing a pre-release game, part of the agreement that you make explicitly with the company when you buy a pre-release game is that your gameplay experience is not really protected, right? Anything could happen. They could remove aspects of the game that you like a lot. That's part of being an alpha, is changing up the actual features being offered, not just cosmetics or dressing things up or polishing things, right? Being an alpha is partially, being feature incomplete. So you could remove functions of the game or add functions to the game that people won't like. That's part of your agreement when you buy the game. Your gameplay experience at any time could be fucked by any number of performance issues, as it has been in the past with the netcode problems, or any number of bugs or exploits, as it has in the past with a variety of different things, right? These are all part of the agreements that you make as a player with the company when you buy access into any type of pre-release game. So knowing that every player has kind of like agreed to that explicitly, not kind of, knowing that every player has agreed to that explicitly, and then knowing that bugs and exploits and all that shit could exist in any game, and knowing that the ladders don't really matter at all, like none of the leaderboards are kind of like fun things, but they're not really that important. And then to go from there to start like banning people that exploit or abuse glitches or whatever, I think is I actually don't think that the game devs should be doing that. And I would even take it a step farther, and I would say that people like Grims or people that intentionally abuse or exploit things, whether it's peeking through roofs, whether it's crouching underwater to kill players underwater, whether it's sitting in car seats underwater to shoot at players, I think that got patched out, or any other number of glitches or whatever. I don't really think that as somebody that's paying money to, like, just, we've set the stage now, right? So think about this, right? You are somebody that's paying money to another company to beta test an incomplete game with other players that have all agreed explicitly with the company that their gameplay experience is not protected and they could experience any number of catastrophic bugs at any point in time, right? How do you ban a player that's exploiting or abusing a glitch in this kind of scenario? It seems like a very, very, very strange thing to do. It seems like you just kind of let these things run their course. As a developer in a pre-release state, you just kind of patch them as they come up. The more people that abuse it, the more likely it is to get patched sooner anyway. So, yeah, that's kind of my, yeah, there you go. Whew. Hold on, I'll take some comments in the chat. Are true, but to say that ladders are meaningless is 100% wrong and really lazy of Destiny to say. So you're just wrong. You're absolutely wrong. The ladders in this game don't really mean much right now. From a functional point of view, the ladder system is very strange. I don't think that the games are weighted at all based on like based on kills or anything, are they? It doesn't seem to be, or if it is, nobody seems to really know about this. The ladder is just kind of the better you finish, the better, the higher you get or whatever, but nobody really cares about the ladders right now, I guess, unless you're a streamer, right, which you can kind of use it as kind of like dick waving or bragging rights. The ladders aren't like really a super ultra important thing. I don't believe so. I don't believe that that's true. Also, the ladder system is subject to change at absolutely any point in time. People can lose places on the ladder due to bugs or exploits or glitches. People can gain places on the ladder due to bugs, exploits, or glitches. I don't really think that the ladder is something in a pre-alpha game or in an alpha or a beta state game that should be taken very seriously. I would say that that is a factually true statement, and I would argue that like the ladder system in any beta or alpha game is not something that should ever really be taken seriously. Balance can be significantly changed at any time. Ladder positions don't necessarily reflect the skill of any player and for what the end game state should be. Like, I don't think that you should be taking ladder very seriously. I do it because it's fun, but at the same time, like, I recognize that I'm only doing it because it's fun. I don't think you should have a significant competitive stake in the ladder of a pre-release game. Yeah, I'm sorry. I would say that I think that is an objectively defendable statement, and I don't think that's just a matter of opinion. Did your main account get unbanned? Yeah, I think it was only like a 12-hour ban. It might have been an auto ban, or somebody saw it. And I don't really know. Nobody ever contacted me, so now that I would expect them to. I'm not like the biggest streamer, but an email would have been nice. But while players might technically agree to that, their gameplay can be changed in any way at any time. I don't think this can really be done. With how big PUBG is now, if there's any major changes, there will be a shit ton of outrage. People will not defend them when they use the early access excuse. Well, that's pretty true, right? So again, we're in the awkward place. I don't disagree with you there, by the way. I think that that's part of the kind of weird line that you dance, where it's like where you want to be a pre-release but also a real game at the same time. That is true. If there were significant changes made to this game, which the developer has the right to do and the player agreed to, there would still probably be significant outrage. I don't deny that. I think that's probably true. Destiny, your objectively defendable statement is objectively wrong. 2,000 minimum ladder ranking to qualify for a Gamescom tournament with 3. Oh, well, then that's another weird thing. Sure. I mean, you're right there, but so this goes back to the argument that I made earlier. I said I think at the end, because when I said that the ladder didn't matter, because I wasn't sure if they used ladder qualification or not. But like, this is probably not okay. like that's just too weird to me that a company would try to use. And again, I don't want to be super harsh of this of PlayerUnknown or whatever, because I like PUBG and I think the game is pretty well put together. But when you start using ladder rankings on a pre-alpha or beta game, whatever they call it, to try to qualify people for tournaments, that's a really strange statement. Destiny, you said I think, and then later said objectively wrong. Well, I'm talking in most use cases for ladders, for betas or alphas. I understand that you're a little bit of an ass-be fuck, so maybe you have a hard time understanding, the intention behind my statements. I'm trying to speak as carefully as possible, Dransagar, but it's okay. I know you're a little special, buddy. But yeah, I don't think you should be using ladders in like betas or alphas to qualify people for super serious tournaments. It just seems like a really bad idea. I feel like at this point, like in looking at the way that kind of like PlayerUnknown is kind of like managing their game, what other metrics should they use? Well, I don't know if you should be having like ultra super serious tournaments and calling your game like a pre-release. Like that just seems like a really strange line to walk. I'm moving through this. Awesome. Let's go to the next one. It seems like at this point, it would be better to just call your game like released, like this is the game, I don't really know why they would still call it a pre-release game. I don't understand. I don't understand that at all. It seems very strange to me that you would have qualifiers for a tournament on a ladder on a game that's a beta game where there are so many glitches and shit, where whether or not you qualify for that tournament could literally come down to, well, today the netcode or I'm sorry, today the network lag and the servers are just impossible to play on, so I can't qualify. Or there's a new glitch out, and 2 people were able to kill me in like 3 different games, and now I lost so many points that I can't qualify. Like that seems like a really bad thing to me. Like that seems like an objectively bad thing to do with your game. Like it seems like at that point you need to make the decision like, okay, well, we're a real game. We've released now. We asked to be treated as such because we're going to function as such. We're going to charge money for cosmetics. We're going to use our ladder system to qualify people into tournaments. There's that aspect of it. But then you can't like say like, oh, well, we're still pre-release, we're still pre-alpha. Like I don't think you can have both of those at the same time. Yeah, I'm Warlock X. So this kind of an argument is a really common argument used by retards that are incapable of having intelligent conversations. The argument that, well, it's in the rules, if you don't like it, don't play it, is a really retarded argument. Like, we're talking about what rules should be, right? Not whether or not something is in the rules. I've already acknowledged at the beginning, it's your private, it's your software. You can make whatever rules you want. They can make the rule that if your voice is too high, you're banned from the game or something. Actually, I don't know if that would fall under like gender discrimination or some shit. But like, yeah, the developer could obviously do whatever they want. Obviously, I'm not denying that. Of course, it's your game. You can operate it and have whatever you want in the terms of service. But we're arguing over what the rules should be, not what the rules are, and whether or not they have the right to enforce rules. Obviously, they have the right to enforce whatever rules they want. Destiny, if you log into a game repeatedly due to glitches, you're going to stop playing it. Of course, they'll cut down on glitch abuse. Their priority is getting more people to play the game. So, again, like, that's not how an alpha or a beta works, right? That's not how that should work, right? You're trying to get more people into the game. You're trying to appease more people by banning people that... Well, no. You're trying to discover glitches and exploits, and that's what the goal of a beta or alpha is. Again, like, people... And, like... So this is how it used to work, I think, in development cycles. I don't know if any of these words mean anything anymore, right? So this is my understanding of how it used to work. And somebody... If there's, like, an actual dev in chat, you can call me out if I'm wrong on this. But I think it used to be, in general, that, like, an alpha project is a feature incomplete thing. This means that you are subject to dramatic changes at any point in time. So for a game, this might mean adding or removing significantly game-altering functionality. So the significant game-altering functionality. So like adding or removing vehicles, adding or removing types of weapons, adding or removing enterable buildings, revamping like sound engines, changing the way that the player models move and feel and handle, maybe removing or adding the ability to wear armor. Like significant changes is typically what I hear when someone says alpha, right? You're talking about a feature incomplete something where significant features can revamp or alter or change the entire experience of the game, right? A beta should be feature complete, polishing kind of stage, right? So, or not polishing, I'm sorry, that's not true. A beta should be feature complete where you start to iron out the major glitches and flaws, right? So in a beta, all of your main features and components are there. What you're doing now is you're trying to find glitches or flaws in the system that cause something to be like unrunnable, something that gives you like crashes or significantly fucks with the gameplay experience or something horrible like that, right? And in beta, you've got your main features and everything are all in place, but now you're just there looking for major glitches and whatnot. And then from beta, you get to like release candidate stage or whatever. I don't know. Past that, you get like into where you just do like your final polish or whatever, and then you have your actual release version game, and that's what you actually sell That's what you actually sell to the player at the end of that, right? Now, it used to be that the alpha and beta processes were handled by internal QA, quality assurance, where you would hire play testers to specifically search for different types of bugs and whatnot. But we spoke earlier why companies don't do that anymore, right? One, you make a lot of money up front, and two, you can have more people paying or playing your game to test it, right, for free, right, which is nice. You collect more feedback, and you make more money. So, yeah, so that's how it seems like that's how beta and alpha used to go. So like when you start to say things like players don't want their gameplay experience ruined by bugs. Okay, but then you don't buy your way into an early access game. Period. That's it, right? If you don't want your gameplay experience to be ruined by bugs, I don't think anybody's been in the city. Then you just don't buy your way into an early access game. Because again, when you buy this game, I don't think if anybody's got a screenshot of the message. Like when you buy your way into the game, you're already agreeing that your gameplay experience could be compromised. Your gameplay experience should absolutely not be protected by the developer when you're a tester, when you're a play tester, right? Which is essentially what's going on. But yeah. Some guy mentioned selling in-game items. I don't think that you can sell cosmetics in a pre-release game. It's a bad idea. It's just I think you're trying to double dip a little bit too hard there, and you're gonna wind up getting fucked for it. Well, the way you talk about beta is, would you believe the Destiny game beta was more akin to what a beta should be? Yeah, that used to be something that game devs did in the past before this like pre-release alpha thing became popular. Is people would have an open beta, and if I remember correctly, and I don't want to talk too much shit about this because I didn't play it and I didn't know too much about it, but wasn't like the Destiny beta, wasn't it literally like the game is pretty much done and we're opening it for like a month early to let players jump in? That's a really good way to approach it, I think. And then if you buy the beta early, you can get some benefits or whatever, for the actual game release. But yeah, that's fine. Like you have all of your internal QA, all of your internal playtesting, and all of that done. Now you open the beta up to everybody just to try to see if somebody can find like some final flaw or final bug or something before you finally release it to everybody. I think that's a fine way to run things, sure. Diablo 3's beta was okay as well, but obviously Blizzard had a huge fuck ton of problems despite that on release day.